Okay, go.
All right. Hello there, everybody. This is Alan Feldman from the Laguna Woods Democratic Club. Thank you for taking the time to watch today. And welcome to another segment of Black in Laguna Woods. This is the third one of these that we have done. So if you watched the other two, I know I'm going to be repeating myself, but this program started through conversations people were having in Laguna Woods during this past summer, when the movement for racial, economic, and social justice and equality was really grabbing everybody's attention. I mean, it was knocking the pandemic off the front page of the newspaper and the top story on the news. We felt that there were other people in our community who would be really interested in these conversations. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today. We have three people with us today, three residents of Laguna Woods. And they're going to talk with us. They're going to talk with us about, they're going to talk amongst themselves, actually, about the experience, their feelings, their, I guess, emotions about just basically what it means to be African American, to be Black in Laguna Woods. So we're going to start off, as we always start these off. I'm going to ask everybody to introduce themselves and just give us much about their background as they're comfortable of doing, just a minute or two, just so everybody kind of knows who we're dealing with here. And I'm going to start as they appear on my screen. I'm going to start with Sandra Farley. Sandy, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and just a little bit about your background?
Okay. My name is Sandra Fairley, and I have been living in Laguna Woods for a little over 2 years. My experiences here have been great. My background is I was professionally a microbiologist, and I worked in the pharmaceutical biotech industry, quite relevant right today. And I worked with infectious diseases and infectious agents. And I had various positions under this same background, but I ended up being a director of laboratory to a manufacturing facilities manager and all kinds of different aspects of the microbiology. And I moved to Georgia to retire and lived there for 18 years after leaving California, San Jose, California. And I came back because my son finally started having children and I needed to be close. Laguna Woods was the perfect place for me to be at that when I moved here. So.
Thank you. And I think I mispronounced your name. It's Fairley, not Farley. My apologies.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. And next appearing on my screen is Alan Williams. So we'll go to him next. Alan, if you just be kind enough, just as Sandra did, just give us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Oh, yes. My name is Alan Williams. My wife and I moved out here about 4 years ago from Kingston, New York. Kingston is like between New York City and Albany. Matter of fact, Kingston was the first capital of New York State. So we were looking for some different states to retire. We looked at South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and then we came across Laguna Woods, and we thought this would be a good place to spend the rest of our lives. And it's probably one of the best decisions we ever made. Actually, looking at the weather today. So, and I've made some good friends out here. Sandra's one, Leroy, and many others. And this is a good place to live, to spend the rest of your life, I think. And I'll tell you why later.
Thank you. Okay, and now Leroy Wood, if you'd be kind enough to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your background.
Most certainly. First of all, thanks for having me on your wonderful program. I really appreciate that. I was born in Barbados many years ago. I wouldn't give you a date there, but at a list of 6, we lost one along the way. My younger sister, she has passed away. moving from Barbados, an opportunity presented itself for me to relocate to New York City, and which was a great thing for me. I began a job there working with an aerospace corporation, and we subsequently made and designed parts for the space shuttle. So those were one of my proudest moments, being able to contribute to such a huge operation. I've had other jobs. I worked for the postal service as well. Uh, and then after I left that job, I came to California, and there I began working for Rockwell International company in Newport Beach. They now make microchips for computers, and that's where I retired from. I worked for them over 20 years. Living in Laguna Woods Village, I haven't really had any major issues and concerns. I've heard some stories, and which I understood. But what it did for me and my wife, it presented a sense of security. One of the things that the first thing I liked about it, once you enter into that gate, you felt you have a sense of you being covered, a safe zone. I moved to Laguna Woods from Buena Park, and so it was quite a difference. And one of the reasons why I moved here, I wanted to be closer to a church that I attended in Irvine. And so I asked around, and a gentleman by the name of Willie Sargent, he pointed me to Laguna Woods, and this is where I ended up. Been here 5 years now.
Wow.
Well, thank you all very much. And we thank you for being on here. You don't have to thank us.
Thank you.
We thank you. And also, I guess you've given us, I think, maybe a good jumping off point when you said that you felt, when you moved to Laguna Woods, you felt safe, kind of protected. And I'm just wondering, so I'm going to ask Sandra and Alan. Let's go back the other way. Let's start with Alan. Is that something that you feel also here in Laguna Woods? Do you feel a sense of safety here that you don't think you might have felt someplace else? So Alan, you go first. I'm interested in what you guys think of that.
Oh, definitely. At our age, we want security. I mean, not to say we can't take care of ourselves, but I mean, I remember coming in when I first came. When we first drove in here, you needed a GPS to get through here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the security, among other things, is the reason why we're here. The security, the amenities, the people, obviously the weather. I mean, you can't beat the weather out here compared to New York. So there's many reasons why we love it here. So this is our last place, before we meet our maker.
How about you, Sandra? Is this a place that makes you feel secure? Do you feel comfortable here, protected? And is that a big issue to you?
Oh, I feel very comfortable and very safe. I moved from the greater Atlanta area. And when I lived in the Atlanta area, I had a huge home, just one person with 5 bedrooms and family rooms, offices, all kind of stuff. And that's because in Atlanta, you can afford to buy a huge home. And but I always had the burglar alarm on. I just, I didn't feel comfortable being on the second floor of the house and not having my alarm on. And when I first moved here, I said, I wonder if I need to get an alarm. And then I started to realize, no, this is gated. And I felt just very comfortable here. I do a lot of walking here around the community, and I feel very comfortable walking. And even since the pandemic, being an infectious disease person, it's sometimes maybe a a little paranoid about it. I like the fact that the majority of people in Laguna Woods really did comply with the social distancing and wearing masks, maybe because we are a more vulnerable community, but I felt I can walk safely, and most people are definitely being careful and conscious, you know, maybe because we are a senior community, we do that. And so I feel very comfortable here.
Yeah. I'd like to pick up on something that you said, because I've spoken to this about other people too, so go around. You said you like to walk, you feel very comfortable walking
Right.
here in Laguna Woods. So I want to ask everybody, because something that really kind of surprised me through conversations. I think it was actually on one of the versions of this program, which really surprised me. Was completely unaware of it. But several people said it's not so much walking during the day, but at night. They don't feel comfortable going out at night. And it's not that they're worried. I mean, we're basically almost a crime-free village, almost. It's not that they felt that they were in danger of getting mugged or accosted by toughs or anything like that. It's just that they felt that they were making themselves vulnerable because it happened to some of them and some of their friends. They'd be stopped by security, and it's kind of like hi, who, it's not that it's an impolite thing. It's not anything like that, but it's just like, they're just looking at not who you are, they're looking at what you are, and they're not going any further. So I wonder. We'll start with Alan this time and work our way back around. I just wonder if that's something that you feel too. They said especially at night, and I wonder, is that something that you feel also? You have to constrain yourself, maybe not go out at night, that kind of thing. Has anything like that ever happened to you or anybody that you know? Is this a real problem to most people of color here in Laguna Woods? Alan, why don't you start?
Well, so far, honestly, I mean, one thing, I don't walk at night, so I can't really speak on that. But I mean, I walk mostly during the day, but I'm not really a night walker. I mean, I myself personally haven't had no problem. It's good to see security, riding around. It makes you feel more safer. I'm sure maybe I can't speak for everybody, but I've heard some people, having a little more issues than I have. But I'm not going to speak for them. But personally, myself, I've never had any problem with walking around here or any instances where I thought that I was being targeted. But I can say no. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. I bet you, Leroy.
Well, first I want to say that my wife, Rosalie, she is usually the walker in the family. So sometimes she goes out in the morning, sometimes she goes out in the afternoon. She has never really gone out really late at night, and that is not something that I would encourage, even if I didn't live
Right.
in Laguna Woods. You don't want to go out late at night. You have to use common sense, or you have to use wisdom. This is a changing world. This is not the world that we have lived in when we were much younger. And I always felt that if I were to be out there at any given time, whether it's in the day or the night, and security was to roll up on me and ask me some questions, I would be on my best behavior and give them the answers that they're looking for. And why am I saying that? I'm saying that because they're there to protect others as well, not just me. And so sometimes you have to realize that in some cases, they're pretty much just doing their job, even though you may feel in an uncomfortable position for that moment. But when you think about it, at the end of the day, you know what? They're just keeping us safe, and that's the approach that I try to use while I'm here, and for any place I go, for that matter.
So you don't feel that you need to do anything special or take any kind of special precautions when you do it. You make sure I understand what you're saying. You would look at it that they're not singling you out. They're just doing their job.
Right, 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 right. Well, now, on the other hand, if I choose to uh, leave my home at midnight and just run around in and out of the bushes, well, then that's certainly a different story. You would understand that security would, that will raise a flag for them. So you have to use judgment, and you have to use wisdom, and not just here, any place you live. Mm-hmm.
And Sandra, how about you? You kind of kicked off the question, gave part of the answer in what you were saying before. But I just wonder, how do you feel? How do you feel about the situation?
I have to admit that most of the time at night I'm asleep. I mean, even in the winter, when it hits 5 o'clock, I'm dozing off. But I tend not to walk at night, but not. Actually, I probably could walk here at night. I'm more afraid of the coyotes and the animals than I am of people in security. I think I try to stay, even when I walk during the day, I am aware that there are some animals out here that, I mean, even though the coyotes usually run away from you, but you just still have to be aware that we do have wild animals that come in. And so that's the only thing that I'm concerned about. I've never had, since I've been here, the 2 years, a bad experience with security. When I'm out walking, we wave, and I feel like Leroy and Alan, it gives me a sense of security that they are out here and riding around. When I first moved out here, in fact, I was a guest of my cousin who was helping me locate a place. I got pulled over by security because I was driving too fast. And, I moved here from Atlanta, and the average driving speed is like 45 miles an hour on the streets. And so I wasn't doing 45, but I was doing about 35, and this guy pulled me over and said, "You're driving 35 and our speed limit is 25. And I explained to him that, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize." And I said, I just, and I explained what was going on. And he was very nice. He said, "Well, I'm just going to give you a verbal warning, but please be sure to slow down because this is a senior community and we don't want anyone to get hit." And that was the only experience I ever had. And it wasn't a negative one, because I think he was right. I needed to be reminded that this was a place where I needed to drive slower.
Yeah, and the same thing happened to me also. I did I guess it's called the California stop.
Right.
Roll, California roll.
California roll. And I think I was going a little excessive.
Yeah.
And I got a ticket, and but it's not like getting a ticket outside of Laguna Woods, So, and I went to the class that you go, it was $20 fine, and ever since then I'm more conscious of the stop signs now. So, but that's the only incident I've had also is being stopped for.
Yeah, I agree, Alan. I'm very mindful myself. I try not to exceed the speed limit, and I also have a habit of checking my rearview mirrors to make sure of my surroundings. And so I do that very, very often. Not in a sense or out of fear, but I have adopted that habit. One of the things that I do, and I do it quite often, if I'm outside and I'm, either cleaning my car off or dusting my car off and security rolls by, I know that I'm a person of color. I know that there are not very many of us. And so what I would do, this is the approach that I use. What I would do, I'll make sure that we make eye contact I make sure we make eye contact if possible, and I would normally give a wave. And I found out that that worked for me because sometimes security rolls by, and before I even have an opportunity to wave, I see him waving. And so there are little things that you can do to help smooth things along, you know, and that works for me. I don't know if the same approach might work for others, but you have to use the approach that works the best for you and your community. Uh, yeah. There was an incident that I had experienced probably a year ago when I moved here. My wife and I, we started a church here in Laguna Woods. We were in Clubhouse One. Alan, you've been to my church a couple of times. And there was one Sunday where I had prepared myself for church and packed my stuff when I got to the church. And when I got there, I couldn't find my briefcase with my Bible and my, you know, and my tithing and all that. I couldn't find it, and I said to myself, "Where is that briefcase?" And I thought I packed it, and so I called my wife and I said, "Hun, check in the garage, the parking stall, and see if I left my briefcase there." And she did, and it was still there, and that was an hour later. Now, I'm not saying that this couldn't happen anywhere, but it happened to me and it happened here. And so that also gave me an extra sense of security. Here it is, a briefcase in the middle of the area. And an hour later, I went back and it was still there. You know, I don't know if there are too many places that can happen to.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what he's talking about at the beginning, feeling safe.
I do want to say that the only time I've had negative experiences have been outside the village. And some of the typical kind of experiences that African Americans experience, and that is going to certain stores. And I've found that if I go to certain stores, like clothing stores, depending on who's there, I'll get kind of followed or watched when I'm in the store. It's a recognition that I have that there's still this thing with them looking at African Americans, and all of a sudden we become suspicious just by being there. And Leroy, what I have learned to do is establish myself with particular salespeople so they know me. And I definitely do it with people who are cordial and friendly when I come in. So I usually ask for the same salesperson and they know me. And so then when I have someone that doesn't know me come up, I'll ask for the specific salesperson so that they know that I'm a regular customer. And but those are the kinds of things. I think as African Americans, we do have certain a sense of people distrusting us or deciding that there's something about us that they think is suspicious. And, you learn, and I think also being seniors, you learn after many years of life to deal with it. It's not always pleasant, but you learn how to handle the situation. Here in Laguna Woods, I just haven't had that kind of situations, although I have had people look at me and say, "Do you live here?"
Yeah, I've had that too.
Yeah, and they'll say, "Well, do you live in Laguna Woods?" And it may simply be the fact that there aren't that many African Americans in Laguna Woods. And so they just say, "Do you live?"
I think that's true.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that, and so, I very proudly say, yes, I do, I live here and I own my place. I'm not a renter. I own my place here in Laguna Woods. And
I'm sorry, keep on. I don't mean to.
Yes.
I think to echo what you're saying, sometimes we are placed, I feel like we are placed in the same category until proven different. I believe that education is the key. Education is key, coupled with interaction. I was sharing with Alan a few days ago, and I told him that sometimes the simple things in life, a smile, a little smile, sometimes it goes a long way. Kind of warm things up. Sometimes I'm outside, doing something, and somebody walks by, and I would say, good morning, how are you? Enjoy your walk. Or sometimes I'll give a little smile. And I think, I mean, you don't have to do that, but I think that that's an approach that
Right.
sometimes it has its benefits in the long run.
Yeah,
There are always these little things that you can
yeah,
work on and make things
yeah,
happen.
but there comes a time when you shouldn't have to prove yourself though. Also, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
You know, and I just want to piggyback on what Sandra said. I felt more uncomfortable outside of Laguna Woods than inside, like in stores but I don't think we have to keep proving ourselves. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just personally. I understand what you're
Mhm.
saying, Lee. It's the way you approach, but um, I just don't think we just have to keep proving ourselves. I think we're all human beings. We all know, a lot of us know from right from wrong. You know what I mean? There's always going to be people out here who don't like somebody. There's always going to be, uh, this is United States. This is the capital, uh, capitalism. We can, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, than here. But but there's still some issues. Obviously, we're not naive to that. You know, there's still always going to be racism. There's going to be good and bad in everybody. But so that's just my feeling. You know.
Let me just ask you, because we have actually less than a minute, believe it or not, left. I know half hour can be very fast or very slow, but just on that. Now I'll ask you, Alan, because you were speaking. When something like that does happen, what's the gut reaction? Is the gut reaction to get angry, or is this just something that has been going on my whole life? I just have to accept that. I just
Well, after a while, you get tired.
yeah.
You know what I mean. It's exhausting. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
We're senior citizens. You know what I mean. This is a time where we should be in a comfortable area. Surroundings, and we went through all that. I mean, luckily, I was brought up in an area where I was raised with Caucasians, blacks, so I grew up around a lot of white folks, and they, we come over my house. So coming to Laguna Woods, coming to Orange County, it was easy for me to adapt because that's where I came from. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but it takes everybody's effort to not look at everybody in a negative way or stereotypical way. So,
Absolutely.
but it hurts. So
Yeah, I'm sure. I can imagine. I'm not sure. I can imagine. But hey, listen, we are, believe it or not, we're out of time. We're actually over time. So we're going to be the hasty retreat. But I wanted to really thank you all for coming on and speaking about what your feelings and your emotions and your observations are. Because we just don't know. And I mean, it's becoming obvious to me as I do this program, and as I talk to people, that it's just like I put it running. I've used this analogy before. If everybody's running a race, you weigh 150 pounds when you run your race. You three guys, here's 20 pounds of rocks. I want you to run this race with everybody else carrying these 20 pounds of rocks along with you. There's things that you have to be aware of and have to be careful. They sound like, when you're talking about it, they sound like small bore items to most people. And you guys kind of look at it like that too, or express it like that too. But they're an extra added burden that people have to carry around with them. And you carry around with them. And when you look at the situation, you're not carrying this burden around because of who you are, what you've done. You're just carrying around because people aren't looking. They see one thing, and that's what they go for. So we all have to, Leroy said, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Well, we all have to be aware of our surroundings. And that goes both ways. And, hopefully people are learning that. And anyway, we're probably over. That's probably going to get cut off. I don't know. I think I went on too long. But I just really want to thank you all. I thought you all did a great job, and it was really a pleasure to speak to you. And I thank you so much for sharing with us, and making other people in our community aware of literally what it is like to be Black, the African American person of color in Laguna Woods. Thank you all very much, and we will no doubt do another one of these. You guys may be back. We may have 3 other people, but thank you all very much, and we'll see you people watching on TV. We will see you soon. Thanks again.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
We're still